Hi everybody, Zach here for another episode of our flagship program, The Spideydude Experience. This episode is brought to you by our loyal patrons over at patreon.com/Spideydude Network. Pledge today and get both early access to content on the main channel, as well as entirely exclusive content, like brand new shows and commentaries for old Spidey stuff, including commentaries for the MTV series, for example, as well as the video editions for Voices from the Area Gargoyles podcast. And our Patreon first show focused on the Krakoan era of X-Men. We also want to encourage you to check out our other programs that are all available on Audio Edition. These are all over on Spideydude.com, and they're available on your favorite podcasting app. Shows like Clone Saga Chronicles, the show that started this entire network, Spectacular Radio, Spectacular Sal Buscema era podcast, Amazing Spider-Man Classics, the Slot Symposium, and the sister program on this channel, Make Mine Mayday. As always, be sure to hit the like button. It really does help us big time in the algorithm. And additionally, if you have topics you'd like to cover on a live show or in a recorded medium, make sure to leave a comment down below the description or shoot us an email at SpideyDudeRadioNetwork@gmail.com. Finally, make sure to join our community. Be alerted to all new updates by hitting that subscribe button and clicking on the bell. But to be clear, your viewership is more than enough for us. And if you want to hang out with us off YouTube, you can always go to our Discord, where we have all sorts of fun stuff, or you can join us on our social medias and follow us there. All the links are down in the description below. As always, we want to be making some references to visual aids and or live comments. If you're an audio listener, pay that no mind, but leave that 5-star review for us. Any and all feedback we will read on future episodes. Thank you, and without further ado, let's get rolling with this episode of the Spideydude Experience. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Spideydude Experience. I'm Zach Joyner, your friendly neighborhood webmaster of Spidey-Dude.com and the executive producer of the Spideydude Radio Network. Tonight, we're going to be all by myself, as I will be covering 3 issues tonight of Amazing Spider-Man and talking some news. So hopefully you guys will appreciate and interact with me in the comments section down below. But let's talk a little bit about the disaster that is Kraven the Hunter. So we have already gotten some takes from Games Radar. Kraven the Hunter called a drag, disappointment, and a waste of Aaron Taylor Johnson. In the first reactions, this is just the first reactions of the new Sony Marvel movie. So there's some tweets. I saw Kraven the Hunter tonight, and why do CGI animals look in 2024 worse than the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park from over 30 years ago? I mean, that is absolutely a brutal take on Kraven the Hunter. It is currently a whopping 18% or 16% as of this recording live here on Rotten Tomatoes, as I had it pulled up. It is not good. It's not good at all. Rolling Stone made a unaliving joke, which was actually kind of punny considering what happens to Kraven in Kraven's Last Hunt. This movie is probably not going to do well. We got Matt. Hey, Matt, we got... Oh, God. I hate you all. I don't like flower power. So, like I say, this... the Kraven the Hunter movie, I'm going to try to go see it this weekend just for posterity's sake, because the Wrap is reporting, and I'm going to pull this up here in just a second, that the Wrap is reporting that this is done. Like, Kraven the Hunter is the final Sony universe of Spider-Man characters film, that there will not be any more for the foreseeable future. No, it's not. Yeah, like the Wrap article, it's behind a paywall, and so, but my understanding of it is that basically they kind of put the graphic up, and there's like 600 plus
million in development that they've put into these films, and the rate of return has been next to nothing. Morbius was a disaster. We all know what happened with Madam Web, which, by the way, like a couple of days ago, Watch Mojo did like the worst of 2024, and Madam Web got number 2, thanks only to Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. I shit you not. That's a real thing. It was, in fact, that bad. So, like I say, there's that. There's also some Marvel Legends news. Now, I did a full-blown deep dive video that was released on the day of this recording, so you can go check out my deep dive thoughts. But there's like I say, there's a brand new wave coming out 2025. I will refer to that video, but basically, just as a Reader's Digest version of that, we've got from marvelousnews.com. Oh, let me share the screen. So, Agent Venom, Chameleon from the animated series, Electro, which is Francine Fry, Marvel's Kane, Spider-Boy, and Spider-Man Unlimited were announced. That was the wave that's going to be coming out. Pre-orders are going to be actually tomorrow as of this recording, December 10th. It's going to be available at all your mass retailers, GameStop, Walmart, Target, Big Bad Toy Shop, Entertainment Earth. This is a wide release. This is the usual wide release that they do at the end of of the year, and usually hits stores early in the following year, usually in the spring. So here's a glimpse of the figures themselves. We got Spider-Man Unlimited, which is based off that animated series that happened after the 90s show. Agent Venom, which is the first time we've seen him since the Walgreens exclusive in 2014. Spider-Boy, which was actually announced a little while ago, thanks to Dan Slott. They got in contact with Dan. Apparently, he's also a collector of Legends, which is the reason that they were able to get with him. Chameleon has often been requested, particularly by certain YouTubers like Dan Hu. Kane is one that I am so excited about. That was the one that yes, I am so happy. I am happy. Never gotten one in a 6-inch form other than the Scarlet Spider Kane. So finally get as I knock things over on my desk. And then Francine, which is not unexpected. She's a newer character. You know, her and Spider-Boy, they seem to be doing like 2 newer characters every year. This year's was Hallows Eve. Year before was Chasm and Ben Reilly in the Beyond suit. So I'm not surprised at all. So that wasn't all that was announced. The 77 series is going to get also a release. So the 77 series is going to be a Walmart exclusive. And so that, hang on, I got to get back to my, I got 2 different windows going on here. Okay. So the 77 series is going to be out later on next year as well. Going to be Walmart exclusive, probably going to be an online event. Usually they have their little fan fest that they do early in like March. So I'm expecting that one to hit stores there. Spider-Boy was a byproduct of the Amalgam Comics originally, but the trademark on that, I believe, expired, which allowed Marvel to come in and create Spider-Boy. So yeah. So that is more or less the news. I'll go through your comments. Oh, poor Daisy. She doesn't know what's going on. So, like I say, the Venom Venom The Last Dance, it did $500 million. So did the previous one. The first one did extremely well, but that was also in a very hot superhero market. And then the other 2, I just don't think they've done well. Craven, they're talking about $15 million opening box office this weekend, which is just abysmal. It is not a good situation. Walter, don't make fun of my cup. My mama bought me this cup. It's a Cowboys cup for those that are audio listeners. So like I say, I'm not anticipating this episode being a long one tonight because I am by myself. This is the first time I've ever flown solo live on the internet. So for those of you guys watching, thank you. Hopefully this is not your first episode because normally I am bouncing off people, but I wanted to try this out because I couldn't get anybody to review ASM. So that's partially the issue. So like I say, but yeah, I'm going to go watch Craven. Are you going to go watch Craven? Are you going to go spend? I'm not going to spend. Now, let me be clear. I'm not going to go spend like $15 on a Craven ticket. I will go see like an afternoon matinee. I heard it's really violent. I heard that's probably the best parts of it. They released the first 8 minutes of this film on YouTube, which is never a good sign in my opinion. Like, you have to release like 8 minutes of footage to get people to go to the theater to watch it. I just, and Sony does this all the time. This is not uncommon, but it's been a while since they've done this. And, you know, the media blitz was out. I saw it on Monday Night Football, the previews for it. It's not going to be good. It's just not going to be good. And I knew this after Madam Web that it was going to be on its last legs. The fact that there's nothing but the noir show in development right now kind of bodes where I'm like, okay, they're giving up because they'd already done so much pre-production on this and Madam Web. It became, I think, a situation where I was surprised that they didn't push this back. But I just think that it's gotten to the point now where I think Sony sees the writing on the wall. I think Marvel's not very happy with the situation. So I hear it's worse than Madam. I don't know how you can objectively be worse than Madam Web. Easy. Quit doing that. The tagline for this movie: please watch this movie. It's better than Amazing Spider-Man. We promise. Ugh. I couldn't get anyone to review. Well, look. Okay, so Neil is not reading the book. Javi is not reading the book. Adam is taking a break from reading the book. He wanted to let it get like halfway through before he like read the books and then go and went back in. So like Adam's going to come back, I think, after 8 deaths. Hopefully, fingers crossed. The couldn't pay me to go see Craven in the theaters. So yeah, I mean, people are not enjoying the book. I will be honest. I'm not hating it. I have issues, but I will get to that in due time. So, I'm not going to do your conditions there, Walter. I'm sorry. How can this be worse than Madam Web? Hold my beer. The comment section is wild tonight. So if you want to join the comment section, if you're watching us live on Facebook and or YouTube and or Twitter, leave some comments down below. I will throw them up on the screen. Just try to keep them appropriate, Walter. And we will go from there. So, like I say, it is that time of year. It's also December. Trying to get everybody here is not going to be easy. So kind of give you a little bit of, and I'll talk about this even more also at the end of the episode. But so the plan is we're going to come back next week. We're going to do Ultimate on the day of, and then we're going to do Spec. We're going to do two issues of Spec in the first week of January because it's supposed to come out first week of January. So we'll cover 2 issues of Spec and then get back to our normal rotation again in 2025. But because the following week is obviously Christmas and then my birthday and then New Year's. And so it's like, you know, I'm not saying you're not nice. You're inappropriate, Walter. He says, me, when have I ever been not been nice? Yeah. Okay. So like I say, we've got So let's talk a little bit about, as I make me a marker, now that we're through all the news, because I kind of just blew through all the news together in the first 15 minutes of the episode. But hey, if you like this type of content, give us a like, share, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. So let's get into the first parts of Amazing Spider-Man as I pull it up on my phone, because it's going to be easier for me to read because I'm old. And so get back to the all right, so we've got Ed McGuinness, Joe Kelly starting his run on a Spider-Man. I don't know how long it's going to be. So it's got Ed McGuinness. So we open with a guy following to his doom. We've got Burnout, this brand new character. Peter's trying to balance his life with his dating the best he can with Shay, and trying to help out Aunt May with Feast Center. And then Doctor Doom shows up wearing the cloak of levitation that's Doctor Strange's. So basically, Doctor Doom tells him that he has no time for such petty things that Doctor Strange used to do. Apparently, Doctor Strange used to have to die 8 times as the champion to defend against this ancient stuff, and it's just not, I don't care. So Spider-Boy shows up for about a second, and then we get to the first trial where Peter has to fight the first trial. We then get a artist change where we kind of get the whole exposition dump. That's a 2-page spread that's really, really pretty, I gotta say. It's a 4-page spread, excuse me. And then Doom gives him his new suit. Peter then starts, fighting the thing. Then we find out that Oscorp has now been sold. And so then Peter dies and then revives himself. And then Doctor Strange's astral form shows up. And that's how the first issue goes. So Joe Kelly's the writer, Ed McGuinness is the penciler. This is the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. The first part was titled Inevitable Attraction. So I'm going to read the letters page to kind of explain the premise from Mr. Nick Lowe. We at Spider Central are super glad to welcome you to the latest Spider-Man epic, The 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. Just how did this come about, you may ask? Do we need a reason to tell awesome, insane stories? Well, no. But I can tell you, when Zeb Wells decided to leave the book, I cried for a few weeks and sought solace in all the available potato chips that Nick Lowe could find. The Cape Cod Dark Russet remains his favorite mass-produced potato chip. Thanks for asking. Anyway, rather than jump immediately into the next era, like how we did with the Beyond storyline between Spencer, Ryan Otley, Humberto Ramos, Mark Bagley, and co.'s run, and Zeb Wells, J.R. Jr.'s, and Ed McGuinness's run, he wanted to do that again. So he reached out to one of his favorite Spidey writers who never has time to do long runs because he's always doing television, animation, you name it, Joe Kelly. We spitballed a bit, and he was on board to attack how Spidey could get involved with a major Marvel Universe development with Doctor Doom as the Sorcerer Supreme. Came up with a doozy of a story that would put Spider-Man into a kind of story that Spider-Man has no business being in, a story about beings of universe-shaping power, not just neighborhood-shaping problems. But Joe being Joe, the universe started feeling like a neighborhood, and the feels started feeling, and it was just right. So they wanted to bring in an artist, and basically they're like, we picked Ed McGuinness. As long as Ed was in, as long as he could get Mark Farmer on inks and Marcinio Minez on colors, and they got him, and they were off to the races. So Justina Ireland is going to be doing the third part of this story. I think she's going to come in for at least 2 issues, and then it's going to be Joe Kelly again, and then Justina is going to come in and fill in again. So Gleb Malkinoff is also the artist that's going to be doing this. So we've kind of talked about this a little bit on and off, but I kind of wanted to give you the whole thing. So basically, that is sort of the premise. So I'm not wearing the wig again. Um, listen, I believe that Nick Lowe cried when Zeb Wells left. They worked together. They were colleagues. It's an end of an era for them. So, all right, I'm going to just go through and recap all the all the issues, because to me it's just going to be easier that way. Same creative team as last time. So Peter's in the shower, but he's being reminded of his death and resurrection. And so then we get to the Sanctum Sanctorum, where it's the house of the former Sorcerer Supreme. So basically, Peter is trying to do spells to ward off these demons. But it's not Doctor Strange because he's in his astral form. Black Cat shows up to steal a book. And like I say, the book was used to try to work out all these things. And so it's a fun little scene with Felicia. Apparently Felicia is now single again. Like anybody cares. I love Felicia, but I don't care. I do love when Felicia's drawn by Ed McGuinness, though. So we then go to the baddies. We get the next battle. This is when Norman reveals that Oscorp has been sold and that he no longer has a job. So then Peter has to show up in the new, coming to you in 2026, the Marvel Legends 8 Death of Spider-Man suit. So we then have another battle at City Field that, Peter somehow wins, and then he wakes up dead, but he's not dead. He's at dinner with Randy and Shay. And so that kind of, they're having a conversation. Then all of a sudden this demon child, little girl, shows up, and she's going to be the next trial. So this is the third trial. So we then go to today's issue, which is, now today's issue, as I mentioned, different creative team. Justina Ireland and Gleb Malkoff are the team here. We go to Forest Hills, Queens, in the past, where we see Peter and Uncle Ben being stalked by not Kane in the shadows, but a different character, where Peter's trying to learn to ride a bike. He can't do it. The demon is obviously the little girl that we saw. We go to the present for now, and she basically kidnaps him, and now Peter's having to go and relive all of his past traumas. So he relives the death of Uncle Ben. He relives the death of Gwen Stacy. We see Web of Spider-Man #1. We see, the ASM 500, the Sin Eater, Kraven's Last Hunt, different things. And basically, eventually, goes back to where Peter's first becomes Spider-Man. He lets the burglar get away. And so he kind of rope-a-dopes his version of Spider-Man thanks to magic, and is able to outsmart the villain. So Peter then relives his birth, his death, and everything in between. And then he kind of comes back to, and he's been off obviously as a space case while Shay and Randy are there. He then walks her to the subway station. She invites him for a picnic the next day. Aunt May shows up, and Peter's, showing his frustration and how he can't seem to get anything right. He then meets up with Felicia. They have a pretty nice little scene. We then have Peter showing up with Shay and having a picnic where he's being stalked by the demons that have been stalking the last 2 issues. We then cut to Alaska, where we see the X-Men show up, and we get Juggernaut, because the whole thing is the very stone. I can't remember the name of the stone or whatever, but like the keepers of that are, how Juggernaut got his powers. So involving the Juggernaut is not surprising here. So, that's going to be Calic and the Crimson Canines is going to be the next story. I think it's also going to be Justina's next issue. So we'll see what happens. One thing I do like is we're seeing the Spider and symbiotes. I mentioned this, I think, last episode, where it's like kind of like the bullpen bulletins. It's a 2-page spread where we kind of talk about what's going on in the Spider office, the two halves of the Spider office, the Venom part and the Spidey part. And I actually do like that. So, all that being said, as I'm only going to probably go an hour in this tonight. when you're the only one here. So, a couple of things I want to talk about first. Number one, I'm going to go in the order of the issues. Ed McGuinness is born to draw Spider-Man. He just, there's a bombastic to it. He loves drawing monsters. This is like right up his alley. This is where a writer is trying to play to the strengths of the artist. I really enjoy that. To me, his artwork is just so dynamic. I just wish it was better stories that he was being used on. I don't love, I think we got into this deep conversation about Peter being constantly dunked on. And that's probably one of my biggest issues with this story is the way him and Aunt May interact, where Aunt May is just on his ass all the time. And as somebody that's read now every main Spider comic, I haven't reread them all, but I've read most everything through the Clone Saga. I'm about to start the era between the Clone Saga and the reboot. And so for me, this type of stuff with Aunt May just irritates the hell out of me. It just does. It irritates me to no end. Mainly because, in my opinion, like, Aunt May should know he's Spider-Man at this point. If Jonah Jameson knows that Peter is Spider-Man, Aunt May should know. And that way she would be able to understand. It's just this false creation of tension. I mean, Peter kind of snaps at May in the third issue, and I kind of felt like that Peter's voice was right. There's some things about Joe Kelly loves writing Spider-Man and Black Cat, so which always gives me a lot of pause, but actually I don't hate the interaction between the two. It's much better here because, in my opinion, Joe Kelly writing them in the past, the issues with that is not because of Joe Kelly, it's because of the editorial blocks that were there. They actually act like not only friends, but ex-lovers, right? And so those scenes are fine. I think Shay has been fine. I know a lot of people are pissed off about Shay. By the way, I saw today that somebody emailed Carlos Gomez because Paul showed up in the new Venom book, and why would you email a guy like that? Who does that shit? That just boggles my mind. I don't care what you think about a character. Like, to write to a creative who is just doing his job. I can't pick up the book because Paul isn't there, and I can't support a book with Paul and Jackpot. Bro. Like, do with what you will with your dollar, but go touch some freaking grass. Like, my God. And I'm not always enjoying books here. I am the army of one tonight on the Spideydude experience, which I meant to put this up. This up. So, I'm an army of one. There is nobody else tonight. So I get it. ASM has not been great. It's been mediocre to bad for some people. It's been mediocre to okay to me.
But like I say, getting back to this story, at least the acknowledgement that it's a Spider-Man story that Spider-Man has no business being in. At least there's that acknowledgement in the letters pages of the first issue, and I'm okay with that. But it is a yeah, I agree with you. I just it is mind-blowing to me that we get such good characterization with Jonah by knowing, and we get such stilted characterization with Aunt May not knowing. So, all that being said, Crimson Crystal is Crytek. Okay, yeah, the Crytek crystal. Thank you. I could not remember Juggernaut's thing. You know, I will say this: we get to the next part, and the development that Peter's losing his job is kind of further. Like the issue that like Hobby had with like the start of this story, because he burn stole it, was Peter's getting dunked on again, and he's just tired of seeing a Peter Parker getting dunked on when we have the exact opposite of a Peter Parker getting dunked on and being labeled a loser and all that stuff. This just feels like, again, we're stalling with this story, which is kind of what we thought, because technically this is like the event comic of the end of the year that they always do. And that in the spring, we're going to get a new, fresh run. If it's Joe Kelly, fine. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be Joe Kelly. And I'm ready for fresh blood. I'm ready for somebody that's not Brand New Day related. That being said, objectively, this story is beautiful to look at. I'm not into the whole Magic and Peter. Like that's a 21st century thing that has been just a big, huge thing ever since JMS introduced it. And I kind of wished he never had. I kind of wish that never happened, because like this is not Spider-Man to me. This is like the worst excesses of current Spider-Man media right now. An Amazing Spider-Man, because like Dan Slott's Volume 4, it's Peter Parker hitting the big time. It's, you know, putting Peter Parker in spots where it's not necessarily spots that he would be in, right? Satorak, thank you to Vinkman for my Matt, I'm going to start your question. You asked me a question a minute ago. I'll get to that in a minute. I get what they're trying to do, because it's Amazing Spider-Man and you're trying to do something different. But when you have an entire editorial department and you have Jonathan Hickman, who is writing the character, you got people like Carlos Gomez that love doing Peter and MJ together. Like, read the room. I don't care if they're not married. Like the marriage for all the marriage stands out there, I don't care anymore. I used to be one of those. And I see these guys on Reddit, and there's certain guys that are fans of the show, and maybe they listen to the show, and that I've been friends with for a long time, for several years. And I get that. Oh God. It is, I know there's that segment of the fan base, and I get it. And they're very loud and they're somewhat obnoxious. And I get it. You're beating that drum. More power to you. But I am at the point now where I'm just so exhausted by all of that. And I think that a lot of us are,
that are been doing this a long time that we're just the marriage is not going to come back. I know Walter's going to laugh at this. It's like being a Cowboys fan. I'm resigned to the fact that I will probably never see another championship won by the Dallas Cowboys as long as Jerry Jones still draws breath. Not that I'm wishing anything bad to happen to Jerry Jones, but the fact of the matter is that it's probably not going to happen. If it does, I will be happy. I will cry tears of joy. I will be very, very pleased. But I'm not I am accepting the fate of it not happening. I accept that the marriage is never going to come back in this editorial lifetime. The mandate's there. It's the firm mandate. They can be together. They can be dating. They can never be married. Fine. All that being said, I really enjoyed the Shay stuff here. With Shay, it feels like they're trying and attempting to actually flesh out the character. With Shay, they're actually trying to do something interesting. They're showing and not telling. That's the difference between Carly Cooper and Shay. Shay is, hey, she's frustrated by Peter's constant ditching. She really likes Peter. Yes, on the surface level, it's pretty standard fare. But that being said, like, they're not telling me how perfect she is the way they were with Carly Cooper. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the interactions with Felicia and Peter here. I thought they were good. The artwork is really good. We get to the third issue here, where they have the heart to heart. Justina, I feel like, gets Peter's voice right, and I was a little concerned because I read that Blood Hunts miniseries and I was not really looking forward to it. But the artwork to me, especially in the flashback panels, like the eyes on Spider-Man, particularly on the death of Gwen Stacy scene, I got such Mike Ringo the vibes from the eyes, but like the rest of it's like John Romita Jr. And I think he was trying to sort of amalgamate that style of looking at what Ed's doing to try to make sure that it's somewhat tonally consistent with like John Romita Jr. and like smashing it together, and you're having that out put forth. The in the first issue, the death scene really is gruesome. Like, you see all of his, like, the bones and melt, and it is, it's as horror as you can get without it being a horror book on a mainstream book. This is not a pleasant story. I don't hate Doctor Strange and Peter interacting with one another. It's just, I guess I've seen it so often in the last 25 years that, yeah. Well, hello. Until the trap takes us. Howdy. So Justina Ireland, I just feel like she did a good job. I don't need to be revisited by the ghosts of Peter Parker's trauma past. I am going to be interested to see what she does in the next issue. I am not looking forward to everything. So I don't know. I've struggled with how we're going to handle all this. Doing this by myself, not doing it with, because I one of the things I love about doing the show is the interplay. And so like I say, it is one of those things where when it's not here, it is missing. Something's missing here. So all right, Walter. Apparently Walter left me a voicemail. So if you want to leave us a voicemail, leave me a voicemail at 818-925-6631. We will play it on the episode live as it happens. If you have already left us a voicemail, we will play it on a future episode in between episodes. So, all right. But like I say, there is a level of a bombasticness to this story. I think it reads better when you're reading it all at once. I think this will probably read better when it's in a trade. So Walter, I'm terrified of having you live, unfiltered with a microphone in your hand. Listen, I have to give Walter a lot of thanks, even though I give him a lot of crap. He's been the most, him and Vinkman have been the most consistent voicemail leavers. And I do appreciate it because it's something that I enjoy doing a lot. I like doing the voicemails. And Vinkman's brought up a good point. The problem is that I just hate not doing an episode of ASM in 2 months, 2.5 months. It just feels weird. But like I say, I'm going to, obviously, the next part comes out on Christmas. So, we're probably, I may, and I think there's some like LR issues that are there. So there's going to be a lot of issues, like some dot issues, like Last Remains, which by the way was 4 years ago. Hard to believe we were that was happening. So yeah, that may end up happening. The spec and the ultimate shows I'm having a blast doing. I struggle. I struggle a lot with, I want to enjoy ASM. I've been reading Spider-Man almost uninterrupted, other than like a couple of issues here and there during the reboot. Since 1995. It's been 30 years, man. So, well, nothing will ever be the bigger FU than getting one more day part 4 on your birthday that happens to be the same as Stan Lee's. Like, that was a double FU. So like I say, if I was hoping to get, because Chris is a big Doctor Doom fan, he likes the magic stuff, but it's just the way the holidays were hitting, he was not going to be able to do it, so that's fine. But it's just kind of one of those that's there. So if you're in the chat, give me some questions. You can ask me anything that's appropriate. So coming soon, at least via shorts, I'm going to do a review of this guy because I now have 2 because this guy is on sale. This is for audio listeners. This is the Prowler, the Walmart exclusive Prowler. He was on sale for $10 off, so I snagged one. So I'm going, and it came in a actual box, so I don't have a crumpled side. So I know that's like so nitpicky, but this is going to be the opened one, and this is going to be the display one. So, is that my real hair? Yes, that is my real hair. Room review went. Oh God, the Room. I have that on Blu-ray because Greg bought it for me. I still have never watched. I don't even know where it is. That may be a Patreon exclusive. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate you about that. Who else? Until the Trap takes us. Thanks for showing up, man. I really appreciate it. Oh, I did have a star thing. I was going to come back. So, Matt, if you're still on, hey, you brought up reading the era between the Clone Saga and the reboot. I have to ask, are you still planning on doing the Forgotten Era show? Funny you should ask, because somebody else actually took the torch. So if you look up Forgotten Era podcast, Ethan and another Matt have actually taken that show and they're going to be reviewing it. They've released, I think, 3 episodes at this point. And so 2 guys that I really like, they've done a great job. I've listened to the first couple episodes. It's cool that they took the concept that I had talked about doing for a long time. They're huge fans of CSC and they're actually doing it. So I got to commend them. And look, I dropped the ball. I should have done it sooner. But, it was kind of one of those things. I was like, well, with Make Mine Mayday, there was kind of a finite amount of episodes. So I was going to kind of do it after Make Mine Mayday. And I may still do it. It won't be called Forgotten Era, obviously. But, and I may, I've talked to them about guest starring on the show. So I'll at least probably make some appearances on the show. And I like those guys a lot. So I don't want to step on their toes. I kind of want them to do their show and get their content out. And I'll do anything I can to support it because it's a good idea. Because it's a great era of Spider-Man that doesn't get talked about a lot. So, a tour of my room, like of the wall behind me. What are you talking about? Of like my collection and stuff like that. I mean, I don't have pretty much everything I have is on display and you pretty much see it all. That's all on my Discord. So, by the way, Discord link will be down in the description below. I've also been trying to put the timestamps in the descriptions. So hopefully you guys will appreciate that if you're listening to us after the fact. Obviously tonight's a bit of chaos because I'm doing it by myself and I'm just shooting it off the cuff. The Wall and the Legend series. Yeah, I can talk about that. I may do a video. I kind of want to get I'm gonna have my Christmas tree up for the next episode because I gotta start wrapping presents. That's part of what you see on the table here behind me. I'm surrounded by Amazon boxes and stuff because my parents have bought stuff and mailed stuff. This is one of my Christmas presents from my mother. What's up, Cody? What's going on, man? Long time no talk, buddy. Sad thing is I am older and not hip. I know what a so, but yeah, look, I think the future's bright. I do. And when you have a bright future, you gotta sometimes put on the shades. So, but like I say, let's talk about the next couple episodes, next couple things I got planned. I have been working on a top 10 Marvel Legends that will come out in a couple of weeks, probably the last week of the year. I've got a episode of the Slot Symposium in the can. We're going to be covering Big Time. Sunday, as of this recording, will be the first part of our of Sabi Sima era's Maximum Carnage coverage. I will be on for parts 2 and 3. So, good night, man. Have a good night, Ryan. Shut up. So that's part of the plan. Kelly and I did a watch along where we only got Vinkman to show up, but we were very thankful. We did watch Across the Spider-Verse, and so we're going to talk about Across the Spider-Verse. And the Mayday parts. It's not going to be much, though. Kelly and I can talk an hour about Mayday in general. I have some. I don't know. I don't love that movie as much as I did the first time I watched it. I've got some serious issues with it the second time I've watched it now. I think I watched it. This may be the third. I think I watched it twice in theaters. And now that I've watched the third time, there are some flaws. And so that'll be interesting to talk about. And then the last live stream of the year is going to be Ultimate. So that'll be hopefully with the whole gang, myself, Hobby, Neil, Ashley, Adam, having the entire group. So, wait. Across the Spider-Verse, you hate that movie? What? I don't hate the movie. I think it's flawed. There's some flaws to it. That's interesting. This is also one of my new Christmas gifts from my mom. Shout out to my mom. And so, yeah, going to be doing a top 10 Marvel Legends of the year. Almost all of them are Spidey, except for one, I think. There's nothing wrong with Miles Morales, Walter. Don't you come on here and we're gonna box about Miles. Nope. Listen. I'm not gonna get into it. You're gonna get me popping a blood vessel. But I am gonna play your voicemail. So if you hear this, give me a thumbs up. Because sometimes I can't tell if it's playing through the speakers or not. Sure, I will lose. Yeah, you would want Army. You better bring a sack lunch, son. So, all right. Gonna play Walter's voicemail.
Hey, Zach, how you doing, buddy? You're doing a real good job here, but all by yourself. I just want to give you that compliment. I mean, since you're kind of doing everything on your own, I mean, I'm not going to call in with like 4 or 5 voice messages. I just want to say that your Cup has scored more touchdowns on your show than the Cowboys did in the last game. Have a good night.
I will say this. I have thought very long and very hard about doing a sports show. And if I do, it will probably be by myself. So this will be kind of the format that it will be. So I'm not going to get into that. But what I will say is this. I am so appreciative of the amount of work that we've done this year. And I will get into a lot of that when we get into the end of the year stream. I'm going to do a bit of a reflections because my goal is going to be the week of Christmas. I'm going to put the Slot Symposium out. And then top 10, I think I'm going to put out on the 31st. And so, with one more live stream and then Slot Symposium and this episode, we're going to be at literally the final episodes of the year. And I can tell you, just looking at my spreadsheet, just since the start of the year, we've done over 35 episodes. That is more than any other year. That is just SDE. Between Make My Mayday and SDE, we have done almost 40 something episodes. So more than twice a month. Between the interviews, this has been very much the most successful year we've had so far. I could do it. Okay, here's the thing about best moments thing. I don't think I'm going to do that this year. What I want to do is I'll do that next year, because the thing about it is there'll be recency bias when it comes to that. So it'll be stuff that's more recent. So I kind of want like the best moments to be like across the entire year. So I'm going to start taking notes about that. There's some small changes that you're seeing behind the scenes too. As well, like things that like on the YouTube stuff where I'm putting the sources and stuff like that. So all the links that I've shared tonight, I've tried to do that, but I haven't done a really good job. I'm trying to be better about that. So eventually that's one of the things I want to do. I want to do some top 10s of like my favorite Spidey stories of all time. Now that I've pretty much read everything, I want to finish, Team Up. I haven't finished Team Up yet. I haven't read all the issues of Team Up, but I've read almost all of them. And then I've read most of the miniseries, but not all of them. So, but yeah, once I get through the JMS run, I think I'll feel more comfortable being able to do top 10s, of like top 10 like stories, and then like a top 10 stories that are good stories that are kind of rare. Top 10 characters you might not know about. Top 10 characters, top 10 girlfriends of Spider-Man, because there have been more than 10. Things like that. Well, mathematically, they're not technically out of the playoffs yet, but yes, they're pretty much out of the playoffs. Like I say, if I do sports stuff, it's going to be, I think we're going to do a hard launch in January. But if not, then it will be probably after the Super Bowl, because it'll be primarily football focused. Me and Paul have talked about it, because he loves football, I love football, and I love talking about football. So, college football has been interesting this year with the new playoff system. So there's I am not one of those that is a nerd just about comics and stuff. I love sports. I've been a sports fan my entire life. Something that me and my dad share very much, similar to comics. So it's always nice. But yeah, okay. So now that we've played the voicemails, emails, let me go through the patrons. Patreon.com/Spideydude Network. Scott McGraw is no longer a VIP. He has left our Patreon, but we got Vinkman and Walter. Thank you guys for your support. We got spectacular patrons. Sarah and Tara, thank you guys for your support. We've got Allison, Cindy, Ed, Eric, Georgia, Greg, Janelle, Jerry, Joyce, Jessica, Catherine, Kale, Laura Howard, Lump Moose, Master Dram, Phoenician, RJ, and Vanessa and Vicky. Thank you guys for your support of the Spideydude Radio Network and all the great shows. We've got our interviews that we did this year. We did Juan Friera, Greg Wiseman, JMD Mateus. We've done the Slot Symposium with the
episode 5 going to be dropping soon. I just don't have the graphic up yet. Voices from the Eyrie is going to have at least one more episode before the end of the year. Then they're going to take their annual break for the holiday. And then we're going to come back. So then we got ASM Classics, Spideydude Radio Network's Clone Saga Chronicles, The Spectacular Radio. I mentioned about Sal Buscema Era podcast covering the Maximum Carnage. We are getting very close to the end of that show. Once we get through Maximum Carnage, then there's only like going to be a handful of episodes left before he gets to the Clone Saga. So it's going to be winding down. And then, of course, Make My Mayday show all about Spider-Girl and her world. We're going to be going more into Spider-Girl in the media. So it's going to be not as frequent in 2025 as it was in previous years. So yeah, then we have stuff like our Spectacular Spideydude experience and the Ultimate Spideydude experience with, the other black cat that only showed up for a panel. So if you have not already, go find us on the various platforms. We are on X/Twitter/Blue Sky/ whatever, at Spideydude Radio on Twitter, at Facebook, Spideydude Network, Instagram as well, at Spideydude Radio Network on YouTube. You can always find us leave us a voicemail on the voicemail line at 818-925-6631. Like I say, thank you guys for watching. If you've been watching us and following along with us tonight and your final comments, I do appreciate it. Thank you guys for everything you've done for me so far. I am looking forward to the next episode where we're going to be covering the latest story of the Parkers in the Ultimate Universe with that awesome Spidey swinging through and everything like that. I'm looking forward to that. So, night, everybody. We'll talk to you soon here on the Spideydude Radio Network.